What does one say to an ancient Nephilim ghost?
I suppose you start with...
You want to be a farmer? Here's a couple of acres.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another video. Diablo 3 Season 31. We have got a GR130, GR130 speed build in under 3 minutes. Pretty insane stuff. It is of course the Legacy of Dreams, Nova Necromancer. The queue being open really just makes us be able to slap in modifier after modifier on this build and it hits like an absolute truck. I really wish I'd built this straight away instead of wasting my time with Bone Spear and fiddling about with other builds, but it is where it is. I've got 1100 Paragon. 130 is perhaps a little push with only the 1100 Paragon points. There are 3 augments missing, 3 gear pieces that I would like to improve. My Bane of the Stricken is only like rank 70 I think in the footage, so plenty of room to grow, and I think as I add Paragon points, get those last couple of augments sorted, a couple of better pieces, you know, get the Stricken up to 130. I think this will be doing the 130 in like the 2.5 minute, 3 minute range. Lots of RNG involved, of course, getting that nice map and so on and so forth, but let's go through it. Before we do though, as always, thumbs up brightens my day. Right, this is a Legacy of Dreams build. So the way this gem works is, of course, you want it at rank 99 because that's the maximum. Then you get more damage for every single legendary item you have, and you get double for ancient items. So you really do want ancient items. Now, it is, of course, difficult to gear out an ancient Legacy of Dreams Necromancer, but just do your best. Even without it, I still think you'd be absolutely crushing like 120. Because if you think about it, going from non-ancient version of everything to ancient maybe adds like 10 tiers or something like that. So I think even without everything being ancient, you could still crush stuff. And of course, you've got access to crafted primals, and it's not that hard to get a nice weapon because basically there are 3 scythes your character can use. So to build a really good weapon, all you're going to do is basically come along, craft up some scythes and then upgrade them in the queue, because if a nice one pops out, it's got a 75% chance of being one of the ones we want. The only one that we don't really want is the Jasseth, but I think we can still use that with Rathma Necromancer perhaps. So not the end of the world, but you're just going to keep doing this basically until you get yourself a nice ancient one. So the 3 weapons in question are the Funerary Pick. So Siphon Blood will basically give us up to 300% increased damage. It also ups the power shift damage to 20% per stack, which we are using. And then this damage is doubled on single target, which is very useful for the Rift Guardian. Nova is fantastic at killing big groups of stuff. It is less fantastic at single target. And we will talk a little bit about Rift Guardians and Juggernauts and stuff, what to do a little bit later. But you could get yourself the Scythe of the Cycle, 400% increased damage whilst Bone Armor is active. Now, as we hold down Siphon Blood, we get 3 Novas, of course, from the Iron Rose. This can stack up to a 500% modifier at 10 stacks, 50% each. A lot of damage. You attack very fast, and it is a struggle at times to keep up your Bone Armor because the cooldown comes back in 10 seconds. Minus your cooldown reduction on your sheet, but even then it's still very possible to spam out a lot of Novas in that time, and if you miss your Bone Armor at any point, you can pretty much say goodbye to it. We've got the Tragul's Corroded Fang for 200% increased damage for cursed enemies. We've got Aura of Frailty, we don't have to press this. This should be active at all times. That synergizes with our Dainty's Binding for 50% damage reduction, which again is covered by the curse. And then we've got the one that has to go in the queue, which is the Blood Type Blade. 400% for every enemy within 25 yards, up to 10 enemies, so it stacks out at 4,000%. So of course 4,000 is much bigger than 400, so that's why single target is really rubbish and general density is amazing. We've got the Crispins for slow, giving 100% increased damage, triple this effect when we get off our stun from Bone Armor. We've got a convention of elements, and we of course are doing physical damage with our Blood Nova. So when we roll around onto the physical, we can do a Bone Armor now whilst it's up, and then we'll be able to do the Siphon Blood, automatic Death Nova, and pretty much crush stuff. I prioritize keeping bone armor up, so don't worry too much about the convention cycle. It's a really nice to have if you get it off, and you just need to bear in mind that cold comes before physical. So at cold now, if you can see your bone armor's up, you might want to just wait or just hit it just before physical, and then you can do your big explosion, and most of the stuff will melt. Now we've also got a Mantle of Channeling, so I've got 22% increased damage whilst I'm channeling. Of course I would like a better piece, but it is what it is. And then we've got the Haunted Visions. The Simulacrum will last forever. We're actually going to go Blood and Bone on this one. That will give us basically 3 Novas instead of 2, and that is probably better with taking the Tragul's Corroded Fang for 200%, then with the 50%, than it is taking the Shadow Hook. I think it's close though. So I'm not adverse to taking the Reservoir Rune and doing the Shadow Hook, but of course you would get bigger coverage from the extra Nova coming out of the Simulacrum, so you get a little bit bigger area of effect as well. We've got the Trapped for more damage, and then the last legendary gem is going to be the Stricken. Now you can by all means play with Powerful, and I think this works really well up to kind of like 1, 2, 5 for me at this kind of Paragon range. After that, if you get a Pylon and you can save the Pylon for the boss, then the Powerful is probably better, because you pop the Pylon, you get the adds, the Blood-Type Blade starts working hard for you, and you can melt the boss that way. But if you're going to be fighting a one-on-one Rift Guardian, you probably want the Stricken. Now, the Rift Guardian is not a cakewalk, because you're probably going to drop your bone armor, just simply because of how the mechanics of this work. I think it's better to attack and stack up your Stricken and just forget the 400% Scyther cycle. You then want to press it to try and stun on your physical cycle for the big increased damage. We've got ourselves some Stewart's Greaves for mobility. We want Death Nova damage on these. We've got ourselves a pair of Blackthorns for the increased physical damage, because again we're doing the physical element. We have got ourselves some Stone Gauntlets. These are really handy, and again these will grow in power as we add more Paragon, we add more natural toughness. This will basically mean that we get increased armor every time we get hit. Because of the Alter Node negating any crowd control, there's no negative effect to this anymore. We've got the Aquila Cuirass, we're always at max essence, so we always get 50% damage reduction. We get about 50% damage reduction out of the Legacy of Dreams once everything is ancient, another 50 out of the Dainties as we mentioned earlier. And then the last couple of items are going to be the Andariel's Visage, because again this rolls with physical. You want to get crit and Nova damage if you can. Very hard to get this to drop with physical, crit and Nova, but it is possible. And then the last one is the Ancient Path and Defenders. Now this is not an absolute mega has to go in this slot, but each stunned enemy will give you 11% damage reduction, rolls up to 12. I've got a non-ancient pair. Of course we stun with bone armor, but that aside, generally when you're stunning with bone armor you're blowing stuff up quite quickly anyway. It does allow you to stand in some nasty stuff occasionally, so I do think I would take it, but by all means, if you have a really nice pair of braces, just use them. I've been really fortunate, found 2 of the Bone Spear braces, so I've used this one for a little while because it's got the physical on it. Lacuni Prowlers would be another good one, because you sneak that extra stat on there, you can roll off the move speed. Again, you'd be looking for physical, crit, roll off the move speed for something defensive, I guess, would be nice. You probably want to upgrade your Scythe, because you're just looking for a high damage roll, high percent on either the 400, 200 or 300 depending on which one you've got. You really want area damage, and then main stat is fine. Vitality probably wouldn't be the end of the world for a little bit of toughness, but I think you're probably best eking out the damage. Area damage is quite important to this build. You probably want to get it where you can. I'm not sure whether it's worthwhile prioritizing Bone Spear over area damage. Bone Spear, Nova over area damage. I think it is, but I got 20 on this and I just thought I'll stop rolling. But your ideal Ancient Iron Rose has got a really high damage roll, so this one's missing like 90 damage, so it's kind of okay, it's about in the middle. You want a nice high intelligent roll, and then you want crit, area damage and bone Nova. I keep saying Bone Spear, Nova if you can. You don't need to worry about max essence because we're not using the Shadow Hook. Area damage on your gloves would be amazing, so area damage double crit. I've got vitality double crit, so a little bit more defensive, and then area damage on your shoulders. Cooldown is okay. I've rolled life again because I'm just trying to make it so that I'm not dying in these rifts. At some point I'll probably roll that off for cooldown, because more cooldown is more bone armor, more teleport, and that sort of stuff. I think we did the helmet. Straight defensive stats on your chest, straight defensive on your trousers. Physical double crits, of course, on your Haunted Visions. Again, quite hard to actually get to do that. Physical crits on your Ancient Path and Defenders. Conventional elements, you probably want area damage and double crit. Again, I've got a non-ancient one. Damage, double crit would be fine on an ancient as well. Your Crispins, quite important to maybe craft this one. Of course, if you've got a shit weapon, craft a better weapon first. But if you've got an okay weapon, I'd go with the Crispins, because it is quite hard to get this to roll. This didn't pop out amazing. I would like attack speed double crit, or attack speed area damage and then a crit. You're trying to balance like your 10-to-1 ratio on your crit if you can, and I think that should cover it. So I've still got augments to go on my APDs, my conventional elements, and my dainties binding. Other than that, the rest of it is all auged up. Let's have a look at the skills. Siphon Blood, power shift for that increased damage and to proc the automatic novas. Death Nova, because we want the Blood Nova. That's the skill that we're using for the damage. We don't bother pressing it. Siphon Blood does it automatically for us. Aura Frailty for the extra damage and damage reduction. Bone Armor Dislocation at 10 stacks. The 30% damage reduction is kind of handy to me at 130. Again, more Paragon, more Augments becomes less so, but for the moment quite important. On-demand stun for the Crispins. Blood Rush, I like Potency for the increased armor. You're just a lot tankier. It doesn't last for a long 2 seconds, but it can get you through a very difficult period if you have to. And then Blood and Bone on the Simulacrum. We want to take Spreading Malediction so that whenever we curse stuff, we do a bigger nuke when we attack. Swift Harvesting, faster Siphon Blood means faster Nova, which is good. Standalone for the armor, we've got 2 minions, so we get 80% increased armor, which is nice. And Cheat Death, you will rely on this early on at the 1100 Paragon mark, but as I grow in power, this will become less important. Again, follower-wise, I've gone Templar just for the toughness. I'll swap over to the Enchantress later, I think, once my character's a bit better built. Essential items, of course, Nemesis Braces, an Oculus Ring, a Flavour of Time, a Token of Invulnerability, and you will be golden. So that is it, guys. It is a very powerful build. I'm going to try and work on my Paragons. I'm going to probably try and push this up. I think 140 shouldn't be too much of a difficulty, and then I'm going to try and add like a tier a day or a couple of tiers each day to just kind of get my way up to the 150. I think the biggest problem's probably going to be squishiness, trying to do the 150 rather than the actual damage of this, particularly if I clean up these couple of gear pieces and get some augments on them. I might have to redo the Iron Rose with Nova and with a better damage roll, but we shall see. The gear probably is good enough, I think, for 150. I just need a better belt. I have found a convention, I think a few moments ago, so I will get that auged, and I'll probably remake this Crispins as well. Bit hasty augmenting this one, I think it's probably not strong enough, but again, I've done it now. Another good one actually to do your craft on is the Iron Rose. If you get a decent Crispins Iron Rose, because you need those 3 stats, really, the Nova damage, the area damage, the crit, it is really good to get a primal. So shards for me at the moment are probably going to go on belt and braces till I get these 2 ancients and good. You really want this 50 on the dainties though, because it's a pretty big toughness drop to go down to like 42-43%. It makes a massive difference. Right, that's been the build, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have fun grinding out your Paragon points. This is genuinely one of the strongest speed builds I think we've ever had in the game, so we will see some crazy Paragon numbers by the end of the season, I am sure. I've been the Filthy Casual. Take it easy, guys. Peace.